Garth Webber here again. I get a lot of questions about my equipment, and so I'm going to do a little explanation here about my gear and how I use it. This is a Robben Ford model Fender guitar, which was a present from Robben about 1989, I think he gave it to me. And it's the best guitar I've ever owned out of probably 50 or 60 guitars I've owned in my life. This is by far the best for me. It has hollow pockets, one here where the controls are mounted and another one up here. You can sort of hear the difference. And I'm sure that that has lends a little bit of a 335-ish kind of sound to this guitar. It has two humbuckers, although I've changed one of the pickups, and I've changed the wiring in this so that instead of the normal Gibson style controls, I have one volume control which controls both pickups, and I have one pan pot which allows me to choose how much of both the pickups I use. If I take this pan pot and turn it all the way counterclockwise, then I'm getting just the neck pickup. If I turn it all the way clockwise, I'm getting just the bridge pickup, and I can get any combination in between, and I can maintain that mix as I turn up and down, which is not possible on a Gibson setup. So this is a much better scenario for me. It has a coil tap switch here, which at the moment only affects the bridge pickup, so that I can take this pickup and split the coils and get just this coil here, which is more of a Fenderish kind of sound. And that's pretty much the guitar. It's just, I've had it refretted a number of times. I'm using Dunlop 6000s, and it has an ebony fretboard and ebony tuners, which are very nice, and it's just a beautiful instrument. Then I'm going into this pedal board down here, and the first thing I go into is a Peterson Strobo Stomp 2, which is a very nice strobe tuner. I'll play a note here and you can see the pattern. That's almost perfectly in tune. If I were sharp, it would go like this. The pattern would appear to move up, and if I were flat, the pattern would appear to move down. I can see it in a dark environment, in a club, and I can tune silently without, and I can do it in the middle of a song that nobody even knows I'm tuning. So it's a very good pedal. Then I'm going into this Carl Martin limiter, which is a compressor limiter, which is just kind of fattens my tone a little bit. I leave it on almost all the time. I'm using a very light amount of compression, just enough so that this little busy light that you can see there, let's see, let me turn off the tuner. You can see that light up when it goes into compression. It's basically just on the peaks of the notes. And then after that I'm going into a Zen Drive overdrive pedal. I find it to be the closest thing to sort of a Dumble kind of sound. It has a lot of articulation, very clean distortion, and darkens the sound a little bit, but I can deal with that. It's the best overdrive pedal I'm aware of. And then I go into another overdrive pedal for a slightly different sound, which is it's called an SOV2. It's made in Japan by Providence, and it's a more natural kind of distortion, more just like turning the amp up. I think Matt Schofield uses one of these actually. And then I'm going into a Roland SDE 3000 delay. Now this is an old piece, but it's one of the best delays that was ever made. I think they're still selling for $600 or $700 for just one delay unit, and I have a little pedal on my pedal board that allows me to stomp on it and set the delay time. So that gives me a slapback delay or chorusing, whatever I want. On the amp, this is a Fender concert amp. It was made, I think, in 94, 95. It is not a Rivera design, as far as I know. And I just use the clean channel. I don't use the channel switching at all. It's just, this amp tends to run at, break up at a lower volume setting than most Fenders. If I were using a typical Fender, I would set it at about 6 or 7 on the volume control, but for some reason this amp, I set it at about 4. And then the treble control is on about 9, bass control is on 4, and the mid control is on 4. I've tried many different alternate settings, and I just keep coming back to the same thing, so I'm pretty sure that's about as good as it'll get on this amp. And then I run into a box called a Tubejuice, which is basically it's a speaker volume control. And what that allows me to do is to turn the amp up to the point where the amp starts to overdrive and sounds good, but then I can turn this thing down and play as quietly as I want. That's not much louder than me talking right now, and the amp is driving full force. I'll kick in a pedal here. You can if I were to turn this thing up all the way so that there was no attenuation, Tina, my videographer here, would probably run out of the room screaming because it would be very loud. Let's see if I can give you an idea. Okay, now that's at almost full volume. As I turn this down, it gets very quiet. So that's an important part of my sound. I've been using some version of this box. This is a new one that I found recently, but I've been using a thing called an L pad and various attenuators since 1976, and it's a very important part of my tone. So I suggest if you like to get that tone of the amp cranked up, but you don't want to tear everybody's head off, you should look into a box like the Tubejuice or something similar to it, and I think it'll help you a lot. And so that's my gear.